Welcome to another episode of Fire Your Boss Fridays, the podcast that's all about stealing your life back, firing your boss, and living a life full of purpose. And I'm your host, Chad Passa. Along my side, my favorite rebel soul, Lisa Hart.
Hello.
Hello, hello. And we're going to tap into some stuff that we're doing on this episode. So stick around, guys. It's about to get real. It's just us today. No fantastic special guest coming in the studio. We want to share a couple things, couple questions that we want to answer. One is our morning routine and like the day in the life of Lisa and Chad. What does that look like for the Fire Your Boss Friday crew? What does it look like? Why don't you start off? So you usually make the bed. I know that's a start off the day thing. And I usually get a little stink eye if I'm not involved in that task. So what is brush your teeth, classic stuff. But people, I think what they're looking for is, our listeners are looking for, what makes us more productive as human beings, maybe? Or what's is that the question we're kind of after? Yeah. So what makes you a productive human being, Lisa?
Well, a non-negotiable for me is I believe that it's important that you make your bed every morning.
Yeah. And what's the philosophy behind that?
Just creating habits. Yeah, and it's also nice to jump into a nicely made bed at nighttime. You know,
yeah, when you're 6'4",
it takes away the clutter and the mess of it all.
Yeah, cleans up, leaves a good place there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And then after that, then, you know, obviously you got to, you know, go potty, brush the teeth, and then.
So is that vital to your success, Lisa, do you feel?
Oh, yeah.
The brushing of the teeth. I mean,
yeah.
Do you think people are unsuccessful?
Well, there's a whole argument, you know, between like, do you brush before or after you eat? But I say before.
Okay. Yeah, there is an argument there.
Because
Anybody want to debate that one, listeners? Comment below.
You don't want to run into, you know, someone in the hall and then, you know, I breathe on you and then you're like, ew, gross.
Yeah, so that someone would be me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a debate there, or both. I mean, I would think that some people maybe do both. They would brush their teeth.
I mean,
before
depending
and
on
after.
what I eat, it could happen, but.
Right. What about, then you what do you eat for breakfast, though? Is there like eggs, bacon? What do you eat?
Oh, no, eggs are gross.
Okay, I wanted to get that one out of her on the show here today. Eggs are gross unless they're made over easy.
No, they're just gross.
Overall. So
you got to go have like a light breakfast, so you know, a protein shake or a piece of fruit, something like that, maybe a yogurt, and then depending on the morning, sometimes we'll go to Starbucks.
Okay.
You know, got to have the morning matcha.
Matcha, green. What, like just a cold, hot matcha?
Depends on the season.
Yeah.
Iced in the summer, cold, hot in the winter. And then, yeah, off to the gym. I think it's very important that you get a good workout in, get a good sweat on every single morning. And not just for physical reasons, but mentally as well.
Yeah.
So if I don't get my workout in, then, yeah, mentally I'm just not even there all day.
Is it similar to making the bed, just a good principle too, as well? Like
oh, definitely.
Just making sure you're staying on top of yourself and, you know, holding yourself accountable to certain things.
Yeah.
Is there a goal in there, like why you work out, or other than just mental and like physical well-being? Like, do you have any bigger aspirations with working out? What do you do? What kind of workout? You're clearly not pumping iron. I mean, look at them arms.
Well, I've got some guns. Look at that.
You got some guns? All right. Okay. So tell us about your workout. What do you do with this workout? What does it look like for you? I mean,
depends on the day. You know, obviously we like to go to True Fusion. So some days it's spin class, some days it's bar class, some days it's a kettle booty class, some days it's boot camp. Maybe throw in a yoga here and there, and sometimes it's just a walk.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, cool.
But I believe it's very crucial. Like, I mean, yeah, I believe everyone should do at least 30 minutes every single day of some sort of movement, and
even a walk.
Even a walk, yeah, just something basic even, and getting some sunshine also is very good. So, and then after that, you know, obviously come home all sweaty from the gym, got a shower, and then get to work. So lately I've actually been working in the office, but that's really new for me, so that's been interesting. Because it's usually from the couch. So Nicole usually comes over, our producer, and we work together and get some shit done.
Awesome. Well, I knew most of that about you. I definitely join you in a lot of that you do. But I think the listeners are wondering, like, for themselves, like, why do you feel like that you should have a routine in general? Is there any science behind it for you? Did you watch somebody that said, "Hey, Lisa, you should make your bed and create good habits and work out," or how did this philosophy come about for you?
I think it's just self-discipline, just making sure that, you have good habits and discipline in your life. It just creates that routine. And,
Just get it done.
right.
Because the day starts to get away from you, and then it's like this, that, and the other, and phone call, and then just pretty soon you're like, I'm never gonna make it. Screw it, I'm tired. Right? Then you just miss out on the whole opportunity, and that's something that has to happen no matter what, right? So,
So what does your morning routine look like?
I do brush my teeth in the morning, and before I eat, yes. But for me, waking up for many, many years in, traditionally for me, I always got up before the sun came out. So I'd get up, literally brush my teeth as quiet as possible and leave the room. But for some reason, that would always wake Lisa up. And I never usually made the bed with her because I wasn't around. I was always off to work right away, getting stuff done. And I like to journal in the morning. And I also like to meditate if there's something that I really need to sit with, or I feel like a little erratic in my life. And then I like to tap into whatever kind of food I'm into that week or month or year. Sometimes it's smoothies, green smoothies. Sometimes it's protein shake. When we're traveling, a lot of protein shake. But try to eat something green and something healthy. But I do love bacon and eggs. In fact, I just picked up some amazing bacon and eggs. I'm about ready to eat soon here. Yeah, I'm thinking about it right now. And then as far as a routine, I think the routine just needs to be get up. Don't You should just have a time to get up. Get up and do whatever it is you're going to do. I live by a calendar, so when I get up, I try to just be on time and be punctual for anything that's coming up. First thing I look at in the morning, a lot of people say social media. For me, it's my calendar. I want to look, okay, when is my very first appointment so that I can basically schedule out my morning. Am I going to have time to read? Am I going to have time to meditate? What's my breakfast going to look like based on what my day's going? So my habits sometimes are slightly modified on the daily. If I do have more time or energy, like if we're on a trip or something like that, then my morning becomes way longer, sometimes double the length that it does when I'm really putting a project together and trying to make something happen. But I use my mornings definitely for self growth and personal time for sure. Because Lisa and we don't really talk in the mornings. Like we do go and do our own things, and sometimes Lisa will go off to the gym without me, and I'll stay back and maybe get some things done. It depends what's going on. But yeah, that's my morning. It's not a fascinating morning. No, I don't do cold plunges and I don't run 5 miles. And I don't believe that if I did, I would be somehow more successful. I think just more importantly that you're doing what makes you a better version of yourself. And I think for me, it's just mental clarity all around the board. Anything that provides mental clarity for me is what gets me through my day and takes me to the next level. So. Yeah, there you go. Let's tap into this a little bit. Please, some of the listeners on the podcast maybe want to know what we're doing other than just podcasting, right? And talking to all the cool guests that we've had on the show. One of the things we've been working on is we launched not only a course, but a mentorship for remote bookkeeping, which had ultimately provided us with the freedom and flexibility and the finances to travel the world. And let's play around with that. At least let's tell everybody kind of what's going on with Bookkeepers of America. And I'm gonna let you take the stage because you've been doing a lot of work. Remember yesterday I came in. I was just like so proud of you. You're just killing it, putting the project together and making this a reality. And it's been a struggle. But where are we at with the launch and like what's happening with the company right now?
So we officially launched, well, finished wrapping up the course and launched the course back in April with the hard work of our team, Nicole and Talise. Basically, since then, it's just kind of been, this learning curve of getting it out there, getting it in the hands of people. And so it's been trial and error. And I would say, the biggest challenge, I believe, is just, getting the word out. We're doing social media and we did a little bit of paid advertising. And then we also hired a consulting coach, Growth Tools. Yeah. And we've been working with them on the regular, and that's definitely helped. Like once we started working with them, it was like, I mean, because initially we were kind of not really asking for the sell or, for the calls. And so they guided us on that. And then, once it was like, duh, okay, yeah, we need to be asking for, buy our stuff, then yeah, shit started happening. So, looking back though,
I've been taking the calls. That's kind of my role.
mm-hmm, yeah. But I think, looking back, I mean, if I had to do it all over again, and it's funny because I read about this and I knew about this, and I don't know how many times I came across it, but I think what I would have done differently is started building our email list sooner. And first, yeah, maybe, but instead I was more concerned with getting the course recorded and edited and getting that out there. And then I was like, okay, well now, we launch it. So yeah, it's been a learning experience, but
We're excited to go on this adventure to like share this whole remote bookkeeping thing because we felt like, okay, well, I think other people should be able to have this flexibility and freedom, right?
yeah, well, that's more what it's about too, is that flexibility and freedom because, the remote bookkeeping course is just step one or course one of many to come. There's going to be, much more digital products and, just tutorials and sharing this lifestyle with people.
You're going to put together a lot of cool products, but we started with this one just for that reason, like you said, because it's a great starting point for us to really take and help all sorts of entrepreneurs. That's why we started the podcast, Fire Your Boss Fridays, because like, hey guys, like we read some statistics today. If you don't mind getting those ready, Lisa, because I want to tap into them in just a minute. But for me, one of the things that I felt like was sort of my strong point and what I brought to the table as Lisa's developing these things is that the whole minimalist or simple way of living, and I don't know if that comes from like just some men in general. I mean, I'm blessed to have a wife, obviously, that is willing to live a very practical lifestyle. Obviously, like have 300 pairs of shoes or something, but we know that there's women out there, or even men who have hats, or even Nikes, or people that do this. But that is not the route to living a remote, flexible lifestyle where you can travel at any given point in time and having a bank account that's available to do so. Right? Those shoes don't buy you vacations. Yeah, maybe down the road, but what about today? Right? Like living every day. Right? These huge sacrifices. I think people might say, "Oh, you want to think for long term, right?" Well, every day is your future. So every 3, 4, 5 days that you're living and being a human being, you're giving up those days too. So the sacrifice goes both ways. It has to be a give and take for sure. But it also has to be what you want. I've talked to people like Chad, Lisa, how do you guys do this, right? Like, how do you travel the world, this kind of thing, right? And that's ultimately what spawned us maybe wanting to do this too. But they would say, how do you do it? I say, well, you're not ready for this. Well, how do I know? Because I know you won't sell everything. I know you're gonna want to keep your Harley. I know you're not gonna get rid of your shoe collection. I know that's just not gonna happen. So you can't be that flexible and to be able to travel the world like that at that scale. Still have those things. Well, especially if you're not already a multimillionaire, right? In which most people aren't, right? There's only 10% of the population makes over like 70K or 100K or something like that, and so that's crazy. But let's tap into this statistic about entrepreneurs and people who own their own businesses. Read it off for me there. You read that to me this morning. I thought it was pretty fascinating about happiness and stress.
Okay, so yes, this article, the Motley Fool, it says 96% of people who started their own businesses said they have no desire to return to a traditional job, and 70% said they have a better work-life balance. More than half of those who work for themselves, 55%, said they have less stress, and 54% said they are healthier since going into business for themselves. Basically, with those numbers, it's like, I mean, for me, it kind of seems like a no-brainer. Like, why would you not do this? Why would you not start your own business?
What's going to be best for you as a human being? And we're going to go into, I think, one of the things that we see a lot of people that stops a lot of people. And this is fear, right? What are the things people fear? And we get it all the time. We're literally talking to people who want to do this, but the list goes on and on and on about fears. But one of them that always comes up is like things like, oh, well, what about benefits? I'm not going to have benefits as an entrepreneur. Why don't you tell people, tell our listeners, like what is there no benefits available to the world except for unless you work for some other company, or how does that work?
No, there absolutely is. I think that's, yeah, one of the things when somebody tells me that, I kind of want to just, I kind of giggle inside. Well, I mean, it could be any benefit really. Like all of it is available to self-employed. It's just the same. So yes, you're paying for it essentially, but I mean, when you're working at a job, you're paying for it too. It's just in a different, way or different means. It's going to reflect in your wage. Like you're typically going to make less for those benefits versus, if you're working for yourself, you're going to be making more and you have the potential to like, make unlimited basically if you're working for yourself. You're not tapped at like your employer says, oh, we can't pay you more than 30 an hour. Like You can literally, if you work for yourself, create your own paycheck.
But with that said, isn't it like true that like that's a company that you're working for? Remember, you're just on the other side of the fence. You don't think the guy who owns that company has health coverage? And guess what? He's getting it at a discount. Why? Because he hired 10 employees. So now, as a business owner, he's actually getting cheaper insurance because he's built a business and now has employees that he can, buy a bulk. That's the
Mm-hmm.
whole point behind it. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, that might take you a little while to get there, but that's a reality for you as well. I mean, as a business owner, is you get a few employees, you get corporate discounts and on insurance, and we know that because we've obviously had you had a way bigger business than I've ever run before. I mean, you had like how many employees?
150.
150 employees. I mean, so
Mm-hmm.
like you guys had a health plan there for those people,
Oh, yeah.
right? Discounted it,
Absolutely.
and you guys had probably great coverage, and it was almost probably free basically
Yeah.
because
I mean, I
yeah,
wouldn't say free, but it was, yeah,
yeah, you know
it
what I mean.
was
So,
reasonable.
but and then anything else that goes along with business ownership, right? What is your time worth? What's your life worth?
Right.
Right? That flexibility. That's almost it's like shade in 115-degree weather, right? It's like, wow, how much would you pay for like 6 feet of shade right now? You're just standing in the sun. And I've seen people fight over it, right? Everywhere you go to the park, it's like, oh, well, somebody took all the shade. Well, might as well go home. There's no more shade, So, yeah, it's pretty valuable stuff. But anything else you want to add on
Well, I
the
think just
fears?
another fear is, people are concerned about consistent income. They feel like that if they're working for someone, that's a guarantee and that, that makes them feel safe. But as you know, like with your mom, that's not always the case.
I was making it, right? And I was still making ends meet. But what my mom said to me, she said, why don't you get a regular job, Chad? Because it's so unstable, right? You're so inconsistent. I says, I don't know, Mom. I just don't feel like I really want to work for anyone. I just want to be a contractor. I feel like this is my thing. Like I like the flexibility to be able to do whatever. And then I'm in control. She goes, but you're not. Like I said, but I kind of am, right? And maybe it was my fault. I didn't have consistent work, right? And that could be true, but now I can improve that, right? So, but what happened was like not even a few months after, I don't know exactly the time, but my mom had been working at the same company, stable company with benefits and all this whole thing. And the new owner came and bought the place, and she was one of the old corporate employees getting paid way too much. Boom, she was gone. They just fired her. They didn't even care, and she literally went into a depression. She was just like, "What am I going to do now? I'm like an old lady. I don't have work," and I was getting paid top dollar. Like I was at the top of my pay scale, right? And all the benefits and 401k and all that. Well, I remember looking. I said, "Mom, that this will be a perfect opportunity for me to share with you. Remember when you told me how, you know, my work wasn't unstable, but you actually weren't even in control of your own future, and now you're screwed. You now have to ask someone for a job. Yeah, my work might have went up and down, but when it went down, I'm the one who stepped up to the plate and said, hey, I need to do something. And I did something. And then I created the income. And then you get so good at that as an entrepreneur. The whole point is to get so good at like bringing in jobs or income or customers or whatever the thing is where it becomes consistent, right? To come back to the consistency thing. And
Right, yeah, her security just basically went out the window just like that.
yeah, there was
Just
no security. In fact, it's
hmm
worse because
yeah,
it's not even your choice to stay at work your job. And
right.
no matter how good she was, which I never, by the way, this was a key ingredient. I think she had 3 months of unpaid days off. Like she never missed a day, even when it was going to be paid.
Hmm.
And they're still just like, take your days. We're paying you for it. Here's your severance. Peace out. They didn't care about none of it. They didn't care how good she was for 15, 20. Then none of that mattered at all. But if it's your business, it does matter. You're paid for your skill, which could be 1 hour could equal 500, could be 1,000, because you get so efficient and good at what you do that the time that you do it in also becomes more efficient. So you actually get paid more and more and more as you become better and more efficient at your job, which that does not happen at most places.
Right. Well, I mean, that was definitely evident in my bookkeeping. I mean, it got to the point, I was averaging 200 an hour just because I did get so efficient in my job and doing
Right.
what I was doing.
Right. Yeah, and there's a certain threshold. A lot of people don't think of it like this, but once you're making more than like a auto mechanic and an attorney or a doctor, once you're making like similar wage to them, see, most people that I know are like, oh, the doctor's so expensive, and then my car to get fixed, and it's a nightmare. It's like, Okay, but that's because you make less than they do. When you make more than you pay the shop, which is I think like somewhere around $100 an hour, the shop charges for like the tech's labor and then the whole shop scenario. If I make more than that person, do I want to work on my car by myself? That's not a
No.
do-it-yourself project anymore. What do I want to do? I want to just build my business more and like bring in some more clients and work at my business because I'm worth more than they are. So then that's when the world starts turning a different tune because I'm not doing it yourself construction projects. I'm not doing yourself fix my own car. I'm not doing any of that because I make more than all those people. So I'll just work or put more into my business to create better results so that those services then just become great services for me. Why not pay the professional to do it? So your
Right.
life does get better in that perspective too, because what you're able to pay for and have access to, which before was like, oh, got to go, put my own alternator on or something, right? Yeah. So, but I've been there, by the way, I've been down that road. I'm certainly not holier than thou by any means. I'm definitely been a do-it-yourselfer. But I've learned quickly that that's certainly not the end all be all. The do-it-yourselfer is a temporary fix to most things, unless you have a joy fixing your own cars. So that's a totally different game, but most people don't, right? So, but what a great topic, these fears.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Anything
yeah,
else?
there's lots of fears. Let's move on to
What's stopping the listeners from taking? Then maybe you're listening, you're inspired, and you're thinking about it in your head, and you're like, wow, this could be reality for me. And yeah, that sounds like my fear. But what else do you have? What is stopping you? And all you have to do is write it down and go, is if that is actually the thing stopping you, well, let's work on it together. Drop it in. Let's talk about it a little bit, guys. So we'd love to see some feedback from you and like what's stopping you guys from taking, firing your boss for real.
well, and also, I mean, along that realm is another thing that you've had going on is we just finished up your Crushing Limiting Beliefs course, which goes over a
Mm.
lot of these things.
There's just a million different limiting beliefs, but we have compacted some of the most popular ones. We put together some mantras that you can kind of practice and just get the mindset and really start shifting the way that you look at the world. And that's the best thing you can do is that's the part about habits and routines, right? Is like start doing the thing that creates the life you want, right? You have to change. Something has to be different. If you're right here, right now, listening to this and thinking of something greater, whatever you did to get here isn't going to get you there. It got you here. So something has to change from the where you are right now. Sometimes I share this with some people, on some of my calls, some of my students and stuff. Is when you're given a dream or God gives you a dream or some thing that you want to shoot for, or maybe start a business or spend more time with your kids. Whatever the thing is that you want out of life, whatever that thing is, there God's not looking at your bank account when He gives you that. Because if I mean, and nobody's really looking at your bank account. Your bank account will be your reality, plain and simple. So, all right. So, hey, I want to talk a little bit about the team, right? Like because this isn't just you and I making this happen, right? I
Right.
think certainly blessed to have Nicole right over here. Actually, she's right here in the room. So I'm giving her a shout out right here, right now. We are blessed to have someone with such a beautiful mind and such cool ideas. And you just have been doing such an amazing job at everything that we put in front of you. And so, yeah. And it's just nice to have you around too. So, yeah, thanks. And then Talisi, right? So she's been
Yes.
helping a lot too on the back end. And we got a lot of big stuff coming out. So it looks like stuff's not happening, but stuff is just happening like all the time. In fact, the list is way too big. It's really overwhelming. So,
Yeah, no, we certainly yeah, without Talisa and Nicole, we would not be where we're at.
right. And
And there's
now,
still so much to be done, but yeah, I definitely am so thankful to have both of them,
right.
no doubt.
So, as entrepreneurs, guys, don't think you just can do everything on your own. It's just not even possible. And then what you're good at, isn't even if you're better at it, that sometimes you shouldn't be the one doing it. You can't do it all the time, and that's one of your weaknesses, Lisa. Is
Oh,
you
absolutely, yeah.
you feel like you can do a pretty good job at things, and then you're just like, oh, well, I don't want some virtual assistant doing blah blah blah, because they're just gonna do it. And it's like, okay, well maybe, but if you don't have them do it, nothing's gonna get done, right? Because you can't run those types of business. Well, this type of business for sure. I mean, there's some businesses are you're able to do that, but and I want to give a shout out to Talise too because she was a guest on our show too. You guys saw it, but she's been here since day one. She's been on some other adventures with us too, so it's been really cool. And anyway, shout out to you, Talise, if you're watching, if you can see me. Anyway, shout out
Well,
to the
and
team.
they're both pregnant, like
Oh, I know,
about
right?
ready to
And we're
pop, and
scared, are we not? We're like,
and
oh
they're
crap.
still just working their butts off. So
Yeah, so
it's
all
been great.
you ladies saying just because you're pregnant, I don't know if they're saying that, but anyway, no excuses, right, people? That's what we're talking about. Well, cool. We are looking for more team members, guys, as well. Listeners, if you're out there and you're thinking, oh, you want to maybe join a cool team like this one and like maybe just for a learning experience, tell me what you're good at. What's your skill set? What do you think you could help with maybe on a team like ours? Let's see what we can do about maybe working together. Or if you know somebody who is looking, definitely looking for some assistance in lots of different areas. Writing is one, and then some of our social media, obviously, videotaping. One main role we're looking for right now is full time video. So someone who's willing to travel with us, possibly live in with us as well, and
Yeah,
capture a
video
lot of what we're doing.
production and
Yeah, full video production. So that is a space we are absolutely looking for right now. All right, so launching this podcast, right? Why do we do anything? I'll probably be the first one to answer this question. Why do we start the podcast? Why do I even want to do this? Why don't I just continue investing in real estate? Why don't I just take that road, right? Just continue being that person. Well, Lisa and I, for many, many years, have always just liked helping people start their own businesses, right? But once we really started digging into maybe making it a reality, for me, I started thinking, well, what is it that I want to share with the world? What is the thing that I want everyone to know, or how can I help and how can I serve? So I'm in a service level position now and in my career, and how I can serve people the best is sharing things like we share on the show, and therefore even farther beyond that. And my mentality comes from this. This is where my core is. We have our kids, right? But for me, I don't like to tell my kids, hey, you should be an entrepreneur and like you should do this with your life, and these are all the
are
principles
you
you should.
sure you don't like to tell your kids that? Because
Well, I
I
do
think you
tell
kind of
them, but
do.
it's not comfortable to just be at them, right? And so, thank you for keeping me in check. But the idea behind me wanting to maybe project it or capture it in a different way is, I don't want to force. I'd like them to live their own space or whatever, but I want them to know clearly what my belief is and where I am and where I stand.
Right.
It's
So lead by example.
lead by example. So do the things that I want to do, but then share with the world what I would want to share with my own children. And I think that principle helps me and guides me in like, okay, well, what should we talk about today? Or what should I write about today? Or what topics are important that I should share? Well, if it's something that I feel like my kids could be, my children, or even my immediate family could be impacted by, that I would want to share with the closest, dearest people to me, I want that to be my message. And that helps guide me in everything that we're doing, including this podcast, because I do believe in it. And I do believe it's the way to like flexibility, freedom, and financial freedom for sure. And just independence and authenticity. It's difficult to be authentic in a job scenario, right? Like you're in someone else's like this mold. And that isn't the case for everyone. I get it. And my dad's a perfect example to tell you all about him, but maybe in another episode. But for us, our message is clear. Like, just we want people to have the freedom and to really just break free of what we might call, like on the podcast itself, is steal your life back, right? Get back control of where is it that you wanted to go. Like you ended up here now, and you don't feel like you're fulfilled. Why? Well, it got the best of you, and there's all these different reasons why you can end up in this space. But I think ultimately, to steal your life back, fire your boss, and live a life full of purpose is the whole principle behind it all. And that's what we want to take people on that journey, and to where you are in service. So living a life full of purpose for me is being in service. How can I serve the people around me in the best way possible? And so that's the end goal for all of us, I think. So I don't know if you want to add to that, or why you maybe felt like the podcast was a good idea, but that's my take on it.
Well, I think, yeah, just getting the message out there. We've come across so many people that seem unhappy and, tied down. And then between that and people asking us, are you able to do it? And not that the way we're doing it is the only way or the best
Well, it's not
way,
the end all be all, but yeah, yeah.
but I mean, it's worked for us. And so, if people are interested and they want to learn how we do it, I want to share that and be able to give that to people. Because, I mean, I do believe it's made me happy. It works for us. So there's no reason to keep it all to ourselves. So I think just starting this podcast, and then I also actually, one of my goals for this year is to start another podcast that's going to be kind of geared more towards mental health and, like in the suicide realm, because I've been touched closely by that.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, I think just getting the message out, now we're on this podcast. We've done about 15 episodes, and, I just really want to keep it going and hopefully inspire people to fire their boss and, start living a life full of purpose and doing,
Hmm.
what they really enjoy and find that freedom and flexibility.
Right. If we just get a few of them, just it makes it worth it, right? So with this new venture, though, I mean,
Absolutely.
you've technically been the reason you've been touched and how let's share with our listeners, and it's sort of it's intimate, but you're definitely not afraid to talk about it. A lot of people come up to you, oh, I don't know if you like talking about it, but I know your sister, committed suicide, your mom committed suicide, and so they feel like they can't approach you on it, right? Or let's not talk, don't say
Right.
suicide around Lisa. That's not the case at all for you. And that I think that is where it really started, where people started tiptoeing around you and suicide, and then you're like, wait, no, 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 no. We need to talk about this. People need to talk about this. Is a big problem. This isn't just in my life.
Right.
This
It's a
isn't
huge
just me,
problem.
my
It's,
sister, my mom. This is like they're just the byproduct of something else. And what is that
mm-hmm.
thing?
Yeah.
So that really is, I remember when it really spawned, I'm like, Lisa, we should talk about it. But then we tried the other day, we tried to Google or look for hashtags and they're stomping that out.
Oh,
Like
yeah. It's silenced
it's
100%.
totally silence. I mean, there's some platforms where like, hey, can we even dig into this topic? Is anyone even going to hear us? Right. Remember we had that conversation. It's like, it's stomped pretty good. And I don't even know why, because there are some clear indicators on why that, suicide's a problem. So I'm eager to jump into that with you, Lee. So, and hopefully you'll have me on as a special guest occasionally, but we've taken that journey together. I know you and I have talked quite a bit about, and I've just helped you explore your thoughts, right? Mostly like you'll bring up something and I'm like, I love the way that concept, that, and just the reasons, and there's so much depth to that. So watch out for this new podcast, guys. Come watch it. Lisa's going to be the hostess. She's going to guide the way on that one for sure. And I just hope I'm part of that journey, because I think that's going to touch some lives hopefully as well. It's going to be a really bumpy ride, I think, at times. But Lisa's asked herself the question, am I ready to take this on? She is, and I think she's ready to go. So we're excited to launch that. So watch for it, guys. I don't think we've named it or anything yet. We've just decided that it's a
No,
go.
it's named I Heart Life.
I Heart Life. What do you guys
Yeah.
think of that? Tell us below. You like it? And that's going to probably be your last name, Hart, right?
Oh, yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
So I Heart Life, which is, so that's your
Well, I
little
mean, and that's
personal
already
touch.
launched. Like, I already have an Instagram under that name.
All right, so check out the
So,
Insta people. She's this is a philosophy she's already living by. It's not she's making this up, but the podcast itself is the message, a real true message, and hopefully it'll be articulated through a good podcast, right? So, and maybe some cool guests. And Lisa's an excellent researcher as well, and her whole life really she dreamed of being a
a
what
news
kind of
broadcaster.
but a journalist. What's the
Well, investigative
investigative
journalist. Yeah.
journalist, right? And so
Hmm.
she wants to treat this podcast as more of like an investigative journalist style podcast. Why? Well, the reason I think is because she wants facts. She doesn't want this to just be her opinion of blank, blank, blank. There'll be her opinion in there. Don't you worry, people. But I think ultimately she wants to bring in the facts too, because her opinion, a lot of it is spawned from like the reality in these facts, and things
Right,
that
which
she's
is a lot
found.
of facts that people aren't looking at or facing. So, I
Hmm.
mean, yeah, stuff will come out, and I'm just like, yeah, nobody's listening. So,
Right. We read articles all the time, but it's just they don't get the attention that like other things do, right? So,
so yeah, that's one of my biggest goals for the year. I think
wow,
you also
that
have
sounds awesome.
some goals coming up that you'd like to accomplish before the end of the year as well.
I got so many leads. This whole last year, I've been in the trenches just kind of keeping our boat afloat, doing our thing. We've had some real estate deals that we've done. And then, I've been working, doing high ticket sales for real estate sub two and Pace Morby and that kind of thing. But helping students get into the mentorship is essentially what I do right now. But my project has been kind of in the works, and we've been working on like Steal Your Life Back is itself its own kind of brand. And I was used to be a songwriter. Okay, guys. So 10 years with Split Lid, and then I did 10 years with a band called Twist Dead Fable. Lyrically, a lot of the stuff that I sang and wrote in all original music, 100% we wrote and recorded, but a lot of the lyrics were about how the underdog story or overcoming challenges, songs like Victim, Satisfy, and Let Me Go. Like if you really listen to the lyrics, that's essentially still my same message, that I'm moving into a different space. I don't think my message was truly heard through my music the way that I wanted it to be heard. So I'm creating a new venue essentially to get the same message out. So it's you'll see that a lot of it even translates over. One of the songs I wrote was "Live Like You Stole It," right? And that wasn't the title of it, but that was one of the lyrics that I wrote was "Live Like You Stole It." The same principle is just go out there and live it. And Lisa doesn't like it because she didn't like that particular saying because the word "steal" is like not a good word. I don't know, but anyway, my new project and everything that I got going for me in the future is based around those principles, the same principles that I've lived by and wrote by, and like things that I've really been developing internally, mentally, spiritually. Again, to marry that with what do I want my kids to know, and the messaging, and who I am, or who I was, or who I'm going to be, and who I'm aspiring to be. And that project is going to be mostly just how can I give back to the community in the way of like teaching you how to regain control of yourself, your mental clarity, your time, and your money, so you can do what you want with it. Because right now, I believe most people are prisoner. They're prisoner to their house loan. They're prisoner to their job. There's just so many things you're prisoner to that you signed up for. You just had no idea the complexities and how many responsibilities you were signing up for, and now you're just overwhelmed, and then possibly anxiety, all sorts of issues. Through our experiences personally and what we've been through, and I personally went down this journey where like removed as much as I possibly could from my life, and then reintroduced things slowly, because I was at that place too, where I'm very overwhelmed and consumed by the world and however it comes at you, and you start sign up for all these responsibilities. Pretty soon you really can't get anything done. But that's going to be essentially where I'm going with it, and there will be its own podcast, of course, and I might even write a song. Who knows who will come from that? So watch out for it. Watch out for me. That's all.
All right. So travel plans that we have coming up. Let's see. We're
Well,
going
I'm going to
to
be a grandpa. Yeah, right.
yeah,
You're going to be a
we're going to
grandma here.
Florida here shortly to welcome grandbaby
Valen, right?
Valen.
Valen's
Yes.
coming
Yeah, super excited about that.
2 weeks. We're leaving, I think, from
Yep.
today. So,
Hmm.
which I won't be the release of this, by the way. So that date, you won't be able to see us and find us because the dates won't correlate. Anyway,
Other
um,
than that, we actually don't have anything officially booked, but
well, the reason though is just because we signed up for this.
yeah, there's so
Like,
much going on. But I mean, we're hoping to do Costa Rica in the fall.
mm-hmm, family
Um,
trip, hopefully. Yep.
yeah, as much family as we can get, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, that's all that's really booked right now. It really is right now just about getting the message out, and I want to definitely create more digital products and record more courses.
Well, and
Get
retreats. This is a big
yeah,
thing. Actually, we should talk about that a little bit because
yeah.
the retreats that we want to do Lisa wants to do what they call it'll
Shh,
be.
this is a secret.
Oh, don't tell them about that one.
No, not
Okay,
yet.
all right, I'll hold that one back. All right, so some of the retreats I want to do, guys. So and I'm building these retreats based around like my personal growth principles and things that I've been through and things I want to do. One of them is a 3-day fast and meditation. And so if that's something you're interested in checking out, possibly being a part of this retreat this year, so it'll be 2023, 2024. We're going to be booking that one. 3-day fast meditation. So there'll be some stipulations, obviously health reasons that we'll have to check into. So if you're interested in being a part of something like that and you want to join us on that, it could be a lot of fun for you. And it's a great place to maybe start your soul searching journey. Some of the other ones, your Path to Purpose retreat
Right,
is one that
which
we
is a
want to
little more
do.
business oriented.
Business oriented, right? Help you identify your dream and then assess that, then create the manifest or the blueprint on how to get to that goal or dream, and then ultimately find your purpose, which is to find service, right? To find where you can serve your community the best. That's the journey we want to take you on. That'll be probably a 5 or 7 day retreat that we want to do as well. And so even though we won't be traveling just for leisure, we'll be definitely traveling for these retreats with you guys. So if that's another one that you want to be a part of, hit us up anywhere, anytime. And there'll be some marketing that'll be put together, obviously, to get the word out and let everyone know the dates and availability, cost, that kind of thing. The whole thing is just almost completely built and ready to help you guys develop that, identify their dream, assess what's holding you back from getting there, and then build that blueprint and then take action. So that's a couple of retreats that we got coming up. Of course, there'll be some more announcements coming. If there's anything that you guys kind of want, Lisa's prepared to like build courses around anything specific, and we're not saying like, specific to any specific business like plumbing or something, but if you're
Well,
looking
specifically remote and passive income
right, so
is kind of
remote
my
passive
specialty.
Amen. And then my role in that coaching will be helping you assess your personal space, like your mental space, your physical space, and then like your finances as well. We'll kind of team up on that, but we're going to help you kind of get all those things in order so that you're prepared to be an entrepreneur, right? So once you've taken this journey, you become a dangerous and fearless entrepreneur. Why? Because you have prepared yourself in all of the levels that are required to be an entrepreneur.
All right. Now we want to throw out some recommendations for books and podcasts that have helped us or, influenced us along the way. I think I'm going to do the books and Chad might do some maybe books, podcasts. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let's
I'm
play around
not,
with this. I'm eager to
I'll
see
be
the
on a
books.
podcast, but I'm not a podcast listener so much. So, anyways, I think, for me, I think the three books that I absolutely love and have lived by and have gotten so much from would be, Wayne Dyer's translation of the Tao Te Ching, which is
Is that how you say it? Dao De Sheng?
Tao Te Ching.
Dao De
Yeah.
Ching. Chang.
I can't even remember the name of that one.
It's his. You don't know the name of it either. It's down under the coffee table there. It is just.
Oh, I think it's Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, I believe.
It
Is what
might
it is.
be. That might possibly be it. But it is a full. It's his version of the translation. That if you get the original, Dao De
Yeah, it's
Ching,
pretty hardcore.
it's pretty. It's like the most
Yeah.
difficult, challenging poetry you've ever read in your life. That's what it looks like to
Yeah.
me when I tapped
But
into. So
it's
thank God Wayne Dyer
amazing.
translated it. Yes.
Yeah, amazing, amazing life advice. I feel like my second one would be the Four Agreements. That's absolutely I kind of call it my Bible. And then my third and final recommendation would be The Source by Dr. Tara Swart. She's a neuroscientist and she's kind of talking about, tapping into your brain and your potential and, living your best life. So it's kind of along, a lot of people know about The Secret. It's kind of that, but I think more and backed by science, which I absolutely love.
Okay. Cool.
So,
Yeah. So science, interesting. Yeah. You know my take on science, right? Science is us looking at ourselves and then taking all the credit for what nature is already doing. So essentially, don't forget that science is only looking at itself.
well, it's observation, yes.
It's observation and interpretation of what's actually just happening all the time anyway. You want me to go into podcasts now, or do I get to do any books or what?
Whatever you'd like. Three
Oh, well, I
recommendations
like
that will help our readers.
our listeners,
Oh, yes,
help
sir.
our readers.
Will help our.
Lisa's burning out. Crash and burn. So podcasts that I listen to, if you're an entrepreneur, you aren't following these people, you should be. One of them is Alex Hermosi. He's released a couple of books too, but he's super huge. Like, I don't know if there'll become a time where I'm, in the same room with him or, on his podcast, but he's been a huge inspiration to me personally. And then, Gary Vee, I know if you're an entrepreneur, you need to be following Gary Vee, especially if you're not sure. Gary Vee's the guy that gets you out of your box. That's the guy. He's going to push you out of your box and show you that it's possible for you. And he did for me. So it was a huge deal for me. And then you should just find your mentor. Like, find the people that resonate with you, but find someone. You shouldn't be trying to forge the way on your own in all circumstances. There'll come a time and place where you're going to forge your own path, but find someone and to get a little bit of guidance from and just stick with them. And I think it'll get you a lot farther than you think. Bite into their program or whatever it is that they're offering, because more often than not, they've put a lot of time and energy into that. If you don't think it's that big a deal, I mean, try and if you're going to start following a podcast, just listen to the message that they're sending, not necessarily the tips and tricks. You don't want tips and tricks. You want a good core belief. I think you want a good core principles that are going to last, the test of time and get you through whatever journey you've decided that you're going to go on. So another podcast, I've only seen one of his episodes, but it's Forward Obsessed. It was Pete, but his podcast is got some good core elements that I think many of you could benefit from. So if you're going to start with another podcast or start following someone, Pete would definitely be that guy.
We also have some guests, upcoming guests that have some great podcasts. I'm super excited to have them on the show as well.
So coming up, if you guys want to check out Sean Murphy's Above the Bar podcast, he's actually going to be a guest on our show that we're super excited about. But if you want to check him out in advance and check out some of his content and his podcast before he's on our show, that would be cool. Another guest coming up, if you like freedom or a freedom like lifestyle with flexibility and whatever it's called, What is Your Free? And you might ask yourself, what is your free? I think she's here to answer that question. Her name's Sam. Check out that podcast as well. And, be sure to subscribe to our channels as well, guys. It'd be really cool to, tap up and ramp up the subscribers. It really helps us out as well. And don't be afraid to share. Just share a little bit, just a teeny bit, just to share it a little bit. Push the share button. Well, thank you guys for being here today with Lisa and I, and we put in a ton of energy to make this happen. But thanks for being part of our journey. We'll see you next time on Fire Your Boss Fridays. And until then, stay fearless, people. Keep dreaming big. Never stop striving for the extraordinary, the end. Until next time.